Hey there, this is a video for you first-time guitar players out there. I know how weird it can be to put this thing on your lap for the first time and it feel completely unfamiliar. As it should. You know, up until now it's been a piece of furniture hanging on the wall in a guitar store, and now all of a sudden it's a musical instrument. So what I'm going to do is just go through a few things in this video just to maybe get you a bit more situated with the guitar and I guess what could be expected, and some things that might get you a chance to sort of feel a little bit more comfortable with the instrument on your lap. I'm assuming everybody's usually right-handed, which means that you'll be strumming with your right hand and then fretting with your left. You will put the guitar on your right leg, as I do right now. And that way, the goal of all this is just to make sure that my wrist isn't cocked like this, and depending on the size of your body or the size of the guitar, that may change, so you may need to find some adjustments. But generally the end goal is to make sure that we have a wrist that is more or less straight, or rather one that is not, you know, in flex, or is constantly being bent like that, you know. Position your thumb somewhere on the back. What you don't want to do is sit there squeezing the neck. You don't want your thumb overlapping, because that's not how you're going to get the strength. What you're going to do is your hands are always kind of doing this kind of motion. Either it's between your fingers and your thumb, or maybe even your palm, depending on the chord. But for example, here, if I'm playing like a shape of a G chord, which is a very big chord, you see that my thumb is sort of positioned on the back there, and my fingers are sort of pressing against it. I'm not sitting there trying to grip the heck out of the guitar and trying to squeeze the neck. The fingers and thumb are sort of working together, sort of pressing. And as I kind of move from chord to chord, or as I move from melody, my thumb is going to try to sort of join it and stay put. You're going to find what works for you, because everyone's just a little bit different. What you don't want is to have a bend in your wrist while you're doing it. If you find that while you're trying to do a chord or you're trying to play melody, and you've got a real bend in your wrist, likely you're going to try to find another way. And usually that's just a matter of adjusting your thumb to try to get the bend out of your wrist. Well, there's nothing wrong with putting it on the other leg, like this. Now, when you put it on your left leg, you're all of a sudden your neck is a lot further away from you. So generally the style is to kind of let it drop between your legs like this. So now the neck is diagonal across your body. This would be a very classical way of playing it. For that, you know, you may find that putting your leg up on something, like either a footstool, or, you know, it could be a piece of furniture, just to keep the leg elevated. So now that you have this fretboard close to your neck, it's kind of a lot of advantages to this. You can actually see the fretboard better as well. And more importantly, the most important thing is that we're not putting any damage, or we're not putting any strain on that wrist over here. So you see here that I have an electric guitar, which makes it easy for me because I get to keep it nice and close to my body. But if you have an acoustic guitar, it's probably going to sit a little further out away from you. With that, you may have the tendency to kind of want to tilt that guitar a little up like this, so that you're able to look at the fretboard. The only problem with that is that you may find that you might be doing that a little too much, and that might be putting that bend in the wrist that we don't want. If you're beginning, then you're going to have a bent wrist quite a few times. So make sure to take a break, shake off your hand after you've played for a little bit, and then see if there's any ways that you can kind of adjust it. This is your fretboard on the neck of your guitar, and each fret is given a number that makes sense, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth up the neck. And where you want to put your finger can really impact the success of playing. Generally, our minds want to put our finger directly in the middle of the rectangle, which is fine, but ideally, especially if you're playing single notes, the best place to get the sound is as close to that fret as you possibly can. The reason why is because that fret is what's pressing against the string, not your finger. Your finger's not doing anything but pushing the string down so that it connects with that fret. So ideally you want to get that finger as close to that fret as possible. Now when you do things like chords and stuff like that, you're going to make some compromises. Like, especially if you have to put two fingers real close together on what would be the same fret but on two separate strings. You can see that I can't get my first finger all the way up to the top of that fret. It's just not possible. But my middle finger is in fact as close to that fret as I can be. So, you know, it just means that my first finger might have to do a little bit more work than my middle finger, But still, the idea is to not have it lower. You start to get that buzzing sound. This is confusing when you look at a chord chart because the fingering makes it look as though you have to have your fingers exactly in the middle of the fret, where in reality, in order to get all your fingers on the fretboard, they'll likely look more like this. Okay, let's talk about the right hand for a second. In these lessons, we're going to be using a pick. So when I end up using my pick, I'm using actually very little of it, and I'm thinking as though I am just drawing little lines. As an exercise, just take a piece of paper and draw a few lines on it, and then take a pencil and draw some lines across those, really small ones. Choke up on the pencil real high, and just do the little ticks on the lines just like I'm doing in this video. That should be the way that you should be holding a pick. If you hold the pencil up too high, notice how, it kind of goes everywhere. So that's why you kind of tighten up on the pencil in order to make those little tiny lines. You got to think of the pick the exact same way. So when you're holding your pick, whatever the size might be, just pretend like you're holding that pencil and that you're drawing lines on a piece of paper. You're going to learn to no longer look at your right hand, your strumming hand, because that's likely your dominant hand. You've looked at it your whole life. We're going to concentrate on your left hand or your fretting hand and give it all the attention that it really needs. Your right hand is so much smarter than your left hand, it's likely going to make very few mistakes. So don't find, you're going to be doing a detriment to yourself by giving it any attention at all. Let's say, for example, we're moving up a scale. And all of a sudden you find that your right hand makes a mistake. Try your best not to look at the right hand and compensate without looking. So you have 6 strings on your guitar. Each one of these strings is given a number, and it begins at the lowest string. And I don't mean the lowest in pitch, the literal lowest, the one that is furthest away from your face. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's one way to refer to the strings on the guitar. The other way is to give it its note. And if you've never done music before, notes are given letters. We start on the 6th string, moving down. This way we're moving from a low pitch to a high pitch. So starting from the 6th string, your notes are E, A, D, G, B, and E. E, A, D, G, B, E, string 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I hope that covers a few of the basics that could sort of help you situate yourself around the instrument if you've never played it before. But if you do have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. I'll try to get to them as best I can. Other than that, good luck. Check out some of the other videos, and great practicing.